Welcome to another RPG Architect update. I'm going to show off our new 3D models feature. So let's go ahead and start. My main character, Hiroshizilla, I'm going to go ahead and actually give him a model now of this tank. And you can see now we have a few different options here. Animation, you can choose to just nuke it and not use anything, but in this case there are two that are baked in on the GLTF format. The idle, and then we have a culling mechanism so that you can basically remove faces that may be either facing the camera or away, just depending on how you want to do it. I'm going to use none in this case right now. I'm actually going to set this as move because this is going to be the default for when he moves, and I'm going to create a special idle animation now. Yep. So I've got this set to the tank. I'm going to go ahead and add an animation real quick. Add one more. And we're going to call this, it's a model animation, we're going to say tank idle. To pull one off of Bert, I'll call it ideal. Play off of idle. Okay, I'll go ahead and say that. So the idle animation is now going to use that tank idle, and when we're moving, we're going to use this. It's pretty easy and straightforward. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and save and start. Let me drag this over as soon as it starts. And you're going to see a very ginormous tank because I haven't changed the scale at all. But you can see mostly that it's moving around, and it has an idle position. You can't quite tell. Let's go ahead and go in here real quick. We're going to go ahead and deform this a little bit. So I'm going to set my scale to, let's say, I want it to stay, actually, I want it to be a little bit shorter, but I want it to be probably 50% on the X and Z. So height-wise, it's going to be a lot shorter, but width and length is going to be about the same, or about half. Here we go. Here we go. So there's our idle animation. And you can see it moving around. Yeah, so this is not necessarily the best example of it, so just for the fun of it, let's go ahead and add one more map. Let's add one more 3D model. So let's go ahead, right here we'll get a model. The water wheel, yeah, I like this one. This is actually pretty nice. This one's also pretty large, so we're gonna make it about 50% of its height. There we go. Okay. And we should see a tank and a water wheel. The water wheel will actually have texture to it. Drag this over. Here we go. There's the water wheel. Doesn't that look great? All these models have been built by one of our very own WIKI. You may have seen him in some other tutorials. He does a lot of stuff with Blender. Yeah, so you got some pretty cool looks at this. In this case, some of the normals are actually baked in for the lighting. So all of this is kind of going to be a work in progress for you as a user as you kind of play around with this. But this is going to be one of the big highlights of December, getting our essentially our animations in 3D really up to where they need to be. And it's worth noting as well that our we only have so much control over what we can render just because the shader language that we use is very old. The idea is to make it more accessible to everything. So some things that you may have, like emissive materials, that type of thing, or reflective materials, is not going to show up here. That's why this tank is in basically white. But as the engine progresses, and potentially as FNA or whatever technology stack we kind of build on, as that progresses, there may be a chance for us to actually get some of those in at some point. Right now there's also a hard limit of 96 bones. and we're just going to kind of work off of that right now, and hopefully in the future, again, that may be something that gets improved. SDL3, which is what SDL2 is what we're using right now on top of FNA, or underneath FNA. SDL3 has its own new shader language, and as soon as that comes out, that may open up a lot of possibilities. So I think that the timeline for that's probably somewhere around 2025. It could show up as early as 2024, but we'll kind of see. That's it for this update. Enjoy.